Hi, what's up guys? Today we're going to be talking about Avengers Infinity War. We're going to be doing a review / spoiler discussion on it. So if you haven't seen it yet, go and see it and then come back and watch. But we're going to be going over certain scenes and we're going to be reviewing it, telling you what we like, what we didn't like, and while also discussing just the general overview of it and how it connects to all the other movies. And we're just going to have a fun time talking about it.
Again, we're going to be talking about what happens in this movie, so if you haven't seen it, this is your last warning. Click away now and come back later. Alright, let's get into it.
Okay, so this is my most anticipated movie probably of all time. I was so excited for this. I've been waiting for this movie since 2014, since I was in 8th grade, and I'm a rising senior, so that's how long I've been waiting for this. I've been a huge superhero fan for years. I have all the movies, all the crap movies, like Hulk and Ghost Rider. I have all those Green Lantern. And I've like Marvel, DC. I've been a huge fan, and this movie was just, it was bringing everything together under the MCU as one finale, pretty much, and it was just going to be awesome. It's something that I think every superhero fan has wanted for years, and we finally got it.
Yeah, and as for me, I don't get super crazy about superhero movies because, well, I do love a lot of them. To me, they're more kind of just fun movies. Now, again, this is the Marvel universe, so we've got a much bigger potential for an overarching story, but I wasn't super excited for this movie. I kind of just saw it as another, even though it didn't come out in summer, I kind of just saw it as another summer blockbuster, but it really turned out to be much better than that. It gave me a really great surprise throughout the film.
Alright, so I'm actually, unlike most reviews, we are going to be going scene by scene briefly and talking about it and also telling what we liked about the scenes. Alright, so we're ready to review it. I've seen this movie 3 times now. He's seen it once, right?
I paid close attention though.
Okay, so the movie starts out, right off the bat, this movie, you know, is not like your average MCU movie. It's dark off the bat. The music is ominous. There's a lot of dark tones. And we get in, we see Thor's ship is under attack. And we saw this, a hint of this, from Thor Ragnarok in the extra scene where Thor and Loki are talking. You see Thanos' ship come up in the mid-credit scene. So right off the bat, we get that, we're into that. And we see the Squidward guy, I don't know his name.
Squidward, that dude is funny looking.
Yeah, but he's walking, you see his voice, he's like, your allegiance is now to Thanos. And Heimdall or something like that, the gatekeeper of Asgard, is on the ground. Thanos has grabbed Thor's head, he's done, and Loki's talking to Thanos. And then Loki says, we have a Hulk, and then Hulk attacks Thanos. Yeah. And I thought it was a really cool scene. I really wanted to see Thanos versus Hulk fight. I never thought we'd get it, but we actually do get it.
Yeah, it's a great way to open up the movie.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a lot of fun. And I thought this opening scene, it was a tad long for an opening scene to a movie, but it really shows the power of Thanos and his new order and what his goal is. And he already has the orb from Guardians of the Galaxy, which we learn later. Thor says he broke into Xandar, got it. Now he's looking for the Tesseract, and Loki has it. So he does succeed in getting 2 Infinity Stones in the scene.
So it really sets up what's going to come in the movie pretty well. Mm-hmm. You get a good sense of the characters. Even though we've seen most of them before, it kind of brings you into the current timeline, shows you what's going to happen, what's likely to follow. So it's a good setup.
It's also a great setup to show how powerful Thanos is. Yeah. He's like the Squidward guy. Sorry, I keep calling him that. I really don't know his name. Nor do I care because he's
insignificant.
Yeah. And he's like, let him have his fun. And Thanos gets Thor's arms and like stretches him and starts beating the crap out of Hulk. Why did I say Thor? Hulk. He gets Hulk's arms, and then, but it really also shows the power of Thanos because Hulk is losing to Thanos, and then also Thanos grabs Thor's head and he's beating Thor up. And Thor really never has trouble with big guys, and as in the previous movies, Thor and Thor: The Dark World, he always has his hammer and he's always used to just beating the crap out of big things. And Thanos really leaves him powerless, and it really shows how intimidating Thanos is. And furthermore, he kills Loki. He kills Loki in...
Well, we think. Yeah. I don't know if Loki's really dead because he's the god of mischief. So it could be interesting. Mm-hmm. Loki is using his powers to kind of disillusion everybody, but I'm unsure if that's kind of part of Loki's plan or if that's really what's happening. And that's kind of the beauty of his characters. You never really know what's going on. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I'm kind of interested to see if they even touch on that again in the follow-up movie.
Yeah, and then Loki, he gets choked out. That was kind of sad because I think the audience, along with Thor, has a love-hate relationship with Loki.
Yeah, definitely.
Because sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad. But this one, you really feel bad for him. He's choking, you see his blood rush to his eyes, and he's like, you'll never be a god to Thanos, which is kind of a foreshadow maybe for the other movies, because the Avengers always win. But, and that was a great line, I thought. And then, so, yada, 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 everything happens. Hulk gets shipped back to Earth via Heimdall's, transporter from his Asgardian powers.
Yeah,
and the
ship rainbow thing, swirly thing.
Yeah, and then Thanos blows up the ship. He sends 2 members of the Dark Order to go to Earth to get 2 Infinity Stones. And as far as we know, Thor's dead. So, but obviously not because he's in the movie. But so then we sort of get the intro to the movie. We see Thor getting transported back to Earth. He lands in Doctor Strange's little observatory, his place of hiding. And I'm not sure if that was on purpose or if he ended up. It was a coincidence that he landed in Doctor Strange's house.
Yeah.
Because I'm wondering if Hulk never landed there, would Doctor Strange even be in this movie? Well, I guess he would because he had the time stone.
Found out what the heck was going on.
Yeah, because he had the time stone. But he ends up landing in Doctor Strange's place, and Wong and Doctor Strange find him. They Iron Man's walking with Pepper. Doctor Strange creates a portal to get Iron Man. Bruce Banner tells everyone what's going on. They're all in NYC. And this is also a good scene of exposition because if you haven't caught up with the MCU movies, Wong, he ends up explaining about all the Infinity Stones and why Thanos is after him. So it's a good refresher.
Yeah.
It's because watching all the MCU movies is kind of daunting. It's like 20-something movies.
Yeah, it was really good for me because I've followed most of them for the most part, but I've missed a few here and there. Like I missed Thor Ragnarok, but I was able to get filled in really easily, and I've like seen a little bit of stuff online and followed up with the other movies and just talked to people to figure out what's going on, and they do a pretty good job of filling in the audience. So even if you haven't seen the other movies, you have an idea of what's going on, and if you have seen them, it gives you a little bit more information that helps you understand the concept. Yes,
that was a great scene, I think, and then they also go over Hulk has obviously, or Bruce Banner's obviously been absent for a while. He's been fighting with Thor in the Thor Ragnarok movie, and Civil War has been happening simultaneously, and Tony Stark informs Bruce Banner that the Avengers are broken up because he's like, we need to find Steve Rogers, we need to find Vision, and Tony Stark's like, well, the Avengers, they're done. Yeah. It's not a thing anymore, and you can see Bruce Banner's kind of disappointed with that fact. So they tell him that, and then all of a sudden you hear sounds outside, and there's an attack coming on New York City from 2 members of the New Order, and we get some good action scenes here, and it's a cool intro to show some of the Avengers fighting. Yeah. We get to see Iron Man, Doctor Strange, which we've never seen before, and Spider-Man all fighting, so that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of a precursor to the whole conflict that's going to come as a whole. It's a good kind of roundup moment where you get everybody together get the gang back together and kind of get ready to go into battle. Yeah,
that's a fun scene, and then Doctor Strange gets captured. He gets sent up to Thanos' ship, or one of his donut things, as Tony Stark calls it.
Giant spinning donuts.
Yeah. And then Tony Stark follows him. Spider-Man gets the Iron Spider because he's hanging on, and he falls, so they're all together. Doctor Strange, Iron Man, and Spider-Man are together in one of Thanos' ship, and they end up saving Doctor Strange in a later scene.
They take out Squidward.
Yep. And so those 3 are together. So as they escape, Bruce Banner finds Tony Stark's phone, and he shows Steve Rogers' number. He's about to call Steve Rogers to go with them, so he can help tell them what's up with Thanos, and he can fill them in so they can get enough people to fight. So then we get a cut to, I believe the next scene is Vision and Scarlet Witch, and they get attacked by another couple members of the...
It was those 2 people that Thanos sent at the beginning.
Yeah, of the Black Order, and they try to take Vision's Mind Stone. They are not successful because obviously we get an awesome intro, which I loved, of Captain America, Black Widow, and Falcon, and they go save them. And I thought that was awesome. I thought it was really cool to see Captain America come out of the dark because he's been in hiding for so long after Civil War, and you can tell he's kind of rough around the edges, and they're just kind of tired. But they come to help Vision and Scarlet Witch because they're their old friends. So that was a cool scene. I like that. Some good action. And then they take them, on the ship to go back to the Avengers compound in New York, where James Rhodes / War Machine is waiting for him. So then, while this is all happening, we get a cut to Guardians of the Galaxy on their ship singing, and they're after a distress beacon, which is Thor's ship.
Yeah, and they're looking for what's going on. They think they're just doing a job to pick somebody up, get some money off of a bounty, but really what they end up finding is Thor. They end up flying into this destroyed fleet. I don't know if it's a fleet or one ship, but it's just completely decimated. And because Thor's a god, he's still alive. They pull him inside. It kind of sets up. He explains everything that's going on. They see what's happening. They kind of get filled in on what happened with the whole Ragnarok story. We see that Thor's missing an eye. We find out the problems he's been dealing with in his own personal saga. And that really kind of brings them into this story, and it starts to pull together all the different pieces of the Marvel Cinematic Universe into one cohesive story.
Yeah, and it also brings light to a lot of the tragedy among these characters. Like Gamora's had a hard life. Star-Lord and Thor are jokingly arguing about how they had to kill so many members of their family, which is actually kind of dark, but it's true. And then Thor also informs him he needs a weapon. So he goes with Rocket and Teenage Groot to go get the weapon. And he sends Gamora, Drax, Mantis, and Star-Lord to nowhere to try and interfere with Thanos to try and stop him from getting one of the Infinity Stones, which is really kind of stupid in my mind on Thor's part, because they know those like idiots of Guardians of the Galaxy cannot stop Thanos from getting an Infinity Stone. So I don't know what he was thinking there. He obviously didn't care about them. His only mindset was to go get the axe or make the hammer to defeat Thanos. So he was really trying to using Guardians as bait to kind of get killed, I guess, by Thanos.
He was just getting them out of the way.
Yeah, pretty much. So then we go there. We get there, and then so if we go to Nowhere, we're gonna go to the Nowhere scene now, where Thanos ends up capturing Gamora, and so we go to the Nowhere place, and Thanos shows up, and Gamora gets captured.
Yeah, and Thanos is using the Reality Stone that lets him basically hide everything that's going on. Which basically, when you think about it, you really don't need any other stones besides that one, because that basically changes the perception of everything that exists, which basically makes you like able to bend space and time, even if you're not really doing it. You're doing it for certain people. So I really don't know how they were even able to attempt to fight him given that power, because I mean he just destroyed them in a matter of minutes because he just had so much power over space and time around them. I mean, and then he just grabs Gamora and that's it, they're gone forever. I mean, so he ends up bringing her over to, what's that place called, where he throws her off the ledge?
Well, that's where the Soul Stone is. I forget the place, but
he ends up going to he goes, we find the Red Skull, even though he got shot out in the end of Captain America, the first Avenger. We find him on this planet, he's still alive somehow, he survived all this time, and he's become one with where the Soul Stone is. Is the Soul Stone?
Mm-hmm.
Stone. The Soul Stone is being held, and he's kind of the guardian, but he knows that it's so crazy that he's not even going to try to harness its power, because you have to sacrifice one soul in order to gain its power.
Yeah.
So this is a really important character development for Thanos and Gamora, really for Thanos though, because it really shows just how dark and twisted he is, because throughout this movie we're starting to see glimpses of his, I wouldn't say his humanity because he's not human, but kind of his moral and ethical set. Yeah. And it almost builds a case for you where you start to kind of understand what his motives are, and it tells all about his backstory and why he wants to do the whole one-half thing throughout the whole universe.
Yeah, because he does explain to Gamora, they have that awesome flashback with her as a little kid, why he did that. Yeah. And it also makes him, you kind of agree with what he's saying also, but he's crazy because he wants to kill half. And
you get so close to this moment of kind of understanding what he's doing, and then you see the connection between him and Gamora, almost as father and son, even though it's pretty father and daughter, even though it's incredibly involuntary.
Yeah.
And right as you're making that connection and starting to perceive him as an actual entity that has feelings and things, he just chucks Gamora off the side of a cliff, and then it's all gone instantly, and you're reminded of how sick and twisted he really is.
Yeah, but you can tell he has tears in his eyes, and he is crying, so it does give a human element to Thanos, which I really like. And it reminds you of how much Star-Lord loved Gamora, because they have that scene where she's like, you gotta kill me if Thanos gets me, which he can't because he turns his gun into bubbles, whatever. But that was a powerful scene. So Thanos now has 4 Infinity Stones, and he now is headed to Titan, I believe, his home planet. Because meanwhile, while this is happening, which is also a flaw of this movie, because while I'm saying, oh wow, this is happening, there's a lot of cuts between different storylines.
There's a lot of stories going on, but at the same time, I mean, there's so much going on, they kind of had to balance it and tell it in a non-linear
and I thought they did that as best as they could.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, but so while this is happening, Iron Man had agreed with Doctor Strange to go to Thanos' home planet to bring the fight to him. Yeah. Which is, that's one of the battles that goes down. When they get there, they end up meeting with Star-Lord, Drax, and Mantis, because they're obviously looking for Gamora. So then they team up, and they are figuring out a plan to beat Thanos. Yeah. Which is going to come down later. Back on Earth, Captain America's crew is discussing what they should do. Bruce Banner shows up to the Avengers compound, and he explains everything, what's going on. And Vision's there, and Vision's like, I think we should kill me to prevent him from getting all 6. And they're like, no, especially Scarlet Witch, because that's her...
They've got that emotional connection.
Yeah, she's like, no. And then Bruce Banner thinks of a way, maybe we can disconnect the Mind Stone without killing you and keeping you. And then they're like, where can we do that? He's like, Captain America's like, I know a place, and of course it cuts to Wakanda.
Enter Black Panther.
Yeah, so and everyone starts cheering, because of course that movie was a complete hit. Yeah. It was pretty cool. And we get to see Bucky Barnes with one arm doing Blaber, and then they bring him his cool Wakandan vibranium arm, which I liked a lot.
That was awesome.
Yeah, so that was a cool little scene. So we get there, and then they obviously travel there, and the Black Order and Thanos have sent a huge army to Wakanda to come and fight the Avengers and get Vision's Mind Stone. And in my opinion, this is probably the coolest scene in the whole movie.
Yeah, this is by far the ultimate battle.
Well, there's two battles because there's one on Titan and the one here. Yeah. And Thanos is juggling between that. Yeah. So we get this awesome scene, and Vision. Meanwhile, while this is happening, they're trying to hold off the Thanos' army from getting to Vision because Shuri, Black Panther's little sister, is trying to disconnect the Mind Stone from Vision without killing him, which takes time. But they realize that the army's going to wrap around and get to Vision. So they have that awesome scene where Black Panther's like open the gate and they all start charging towards. And it's just a really cool, awesome battle scene with tons of superheroes, tons of action. And it was probably like the coolest scene in the movie, I thought. Yeah. It was definitely awesome. It definitely had some Lord of the Rings-esque influence with it, and I loved it.
Alright, so while that whole mess is going on, we got our boy Peter Dinklage trying to make an axe for Thor, which is working out pretty well, although Thor almost got blown up by a star, which was pretty cool, but pretty intense. But he's super jacked, so it's okay. He can hold doors open, even though they're powered by like a solar plant and nuclear fusion. So that's awesome. We see he's with Groot and Rocket Raccoon. And those three realize, okay, we gotta get this done. We gotta get out of here. Yeah. So we see Groot basically. I don't know if he sacrificed himself because I don't know if he can turn back into Groot, but he becomes the handle to the axe that ends up basically supercharging Thor, and he comes flying in, beats the crap out of everybody, starts taking names.
In Wakanda.
Yeah, in Wakanda. He comes into that whole scene that we were talking about earlier. And basically puts the cap on it, and then it just becomes utter chaos.
Yeah, which I thought was cool. I was like, why are they cutting so quick? They were cutting a lot between Wakanda and Thor making his axe. I was like, they're cutting a lot between these two events so quickly. I'm like, they really don't have anything to do with each other. But then I realized, oh, Thor's going to Wakanda to fight. And that was easily my favorite scene in the movie. He comes with Groot and Rocket and is fighting with Captain America. And I never thought Captain America would meet the Guardians based on the trailers. But that was awesome. That was a great scene. And before that, they show also that Thanos had destroyed that whole place where Peter Dinklage's character lived, and he had killed all the dwarves there, which also adds to more of Thanos.
It gives more backstory.
Yeah, to why he's so brutal. Yeah. So that was a really cool scene. Thor's all powerful again. And also Thor gets an eye back from Rocket, because Rocket gives him one, while they're having that great conversation about each other's family, what they had to lose from the battle, which is awesome. And it kind of makes me wonder, like, why he lost his eye in the first place. Why did MCU decide to do that? If they were just going to do it again, if they were just going to fix it later. Yeah, I don't know why, but so yeah. So while the battle in Wakanda is going on, Thanos arrives at Titan to fight Tony Stark, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and the remaining Guardians. And this is a really cool scene. They find a way to kind of fight Thanos as one, and he's also like, Thanos is like, he's explained to Doctor Strange his motive now. He gives like a backstory of the planet Titan, how it's prosperous and how it failed because there were so many people there. And he's like, I have a good will. And then Doctor Strange like, I think you'll find our will greater than yours. And Thanos is like, our, and then they all pop out.
Yeah, I mean, this really shows a lot of the theme of this, of course, because it's the culmination of the Avengers. There's the main idea of this whole movie is unity in every different part of it. There's not a lot of focus on individual storytelling, focusing on specific characters. It's really these different groups, and then eventually the entirety of them that are working together, and that's just a really cool. It kind of creates this feeling that they're really a family. Yeah, and it's a great sense of just a collective effort. Everybody's working together as best as they can. And it's it's just really cool storytelling with all these characters from all these different areas of the Marvel Universe coming together to work as one and basically overcome the biggest challenge they've ever had. So,
yeah, it's some good stuff. They really have a struggle, but they're really fighting their lives, and they really display that. And so they get Thanos tied down, and they're about to pull the gauntlet off, and then Star-Lord finds out Gamora has been killed by Thanos to get the Soul Stone, and then Tony Stark, he's like, dude, he's like, chill out just for 1 second, we almost got this thing off, but of course Star-Lord ruins the whole entire thing and starts punching Thanos, which is kind of irritating, which a lot of people don't like Star-Lord for this fact, but I understand why he did that, I guess, but, so, and then Thanos ends up getting the gauntlet back, and then this leads to a great scene between him and Tony Stark, where Tony Stark, he's given his last battle, pretty much, of just fighting. His armor's falling off. His helmet.
Fighting for his life.
Yeah, so I was like, Iron Man's gonna die here. I mean, but he keeps fighting, even though his helmet's been in half. He doesn't give up. He keeps trying to fight Thanos, and then he gets like a little cut, and Thanos is like, all that for a drop of blood, which also displays the power.
The brute force.
Yeah, the power he has. And I love this scene. And then Tony Stark gets stabbed through a blade, which he creates with his nano suit, but then Thanos grabs it, like breaks it in half and stabs him. And then he's on the ground. I'm like, yep, Iron Man's dead. He's about to die. And then Thanos is like, I hope they remember you because you've done so much. So it's a really powerful scene, I thought. And then Doctor Strange does something really strange, I thought, especially for his character, because he did mention he would rather have all of them die than give up the Time Stone.
Yeah.
And he gives Thanos the Time Stone to save Tony Stark.
So a little bit oxymoronical there.
So we're gonna discuss that in a little after we go over the ending.
Yeah. All right, and now we come to what's probably the most impactful scene in the whole movie. Everybody starts being vaporized. Yeah. Well,
Thanos gets the Time Stone. He goes to Wakanda, transports it, get his remaining Mind Stone that he wants from Vision. And this is a great scene too. Thanos is walking through the woods, making his way to Vision, and you can see
awesome.
Yeah, you can see every superhero, a Black Panther, Groot,
giving it everything they had
to try and just stop Thanos,
and he's doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, he's just walking and just pushing him away. It's a great scene, and I really love the one, of course, Captain America when he catches his fist and like he's holding it there, and Thanos is like, "Wow, you can actually hold my," and then he just punches it in the face.
It's just over.
And it's crazy, and then Scarlet Witch does succeed in destroying Vision and destroying the Mind Stone completely, which kills Vision, and she's crying and sad, and then she thinks she succeeds, but then, of course,
Time Stone.
Thanos has a Time Stone, just turns back time, gets Vision, pulls the Mind Stone out of his head completely, encaves his brain in. I love that shot where Vision's feet are just dangling, he's just dead, and he just throws him on the ground. Scarlet Witch is crying, and he gets the Time Stone, but then Thor, you think, Thor comes flying in and throws his axe at him, and it hits him right in the chest, Thanos right in the chest. And he's like, you should have aimed for the head. And he snaps, and then his plan succeeds.
It's over.
And they really have that cool vision of him meeting young Gamora.
Yeah.
Where she's like, you did it. And she's like, what did it cost? He's like, everything. So it really shows, it did take a toll on Thanos himself to do his mission. It wasn't just like he's just a big bad guy. It really did, he did have to make sacrifices in his mind for what happened. I thought that was a really
it really shows that as much of a superhero movie this is, really, it's almost as if the protagonist is really Thanos the whole time, and we're seeing everything that he has to do to accomplish his goals as backwards as they are, and that's why this is kind of an interesting take, though I think this movie was so incredible and so unlike anything we've seen before in the MCU, or really superhero movies in general, is that we're taking somebody who didn't really have a lot of involvement in the prior movies and making him a pivotal part of the entire universe that literally everything in the rest of the story is revolving around.
And it's super unprecedented because this is probably the only superhero movie in history where the heroes actually lose. So we get this famous scene, probably it's going to be famous in the future, of just all the Avengers just disintegrating, well, most of them. And it's kind of bittersweet because they did take out all the side characters and not any of the main ones.
Yeah.
But that they did do that on purpose. They kept all the Phase 1 Avengers, which makes sense.
But still, we don't know where the heck Hawkeye is the whole movie.
Yeah, Hawkeye and Ant-Man, we don't know if they're dead, but they're obviously alive. And we get the famous Tony Stark, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. Spider-Man dies, Black Panther dies, Doctor Strange dies. And before Doctor Strange dies, he says something really interesting. He says to Tony Stark, he's like, Tony, this is the way it had to be.
Yeah.
So when he looked into the future and saw the outcome where they succeed, he obviously saw Tony Stark had to be there. So he sacrificed himself so Tony Stark could stay alive. So Tony Stark in the next movie, in the finale, Part 2, which is what the original title was, Tony Stark's going to have a big role in stopping Thanos.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, but he definitely will. And all the original Avengers survive. And then James Rhodes, War Machine, he survives. And he looks at Steve Rogers, and he's like, what happened? And Steve Rogers he's like, oh God. So he realizes Thanos actually succeeded.
Yeah, it happened.
Yeah, and half the universe is gone, and we cut to Thanos, the last scene of the movie. He's looking on the sunset. And also when his gauntlet gets just like burnt up by Thor when he hits him with the axe, it's kind of destroyed. So I don't know if the gauntlet is still working.
Yeah, well, when he snaps his fingers, doesn't the whole thing get kind of crushed?
Yeah, kind of. So I don't
malfunctions.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's useless now, if he can still use it. So that's interesting. That's an interesting question. And he said to Doctor Strange, like, "What are you gonna do when this all over?" He's like, "I'm gonna look out at the sunset and rest," and that's what he does at the end.
What he does.
And he has a little smile on his face.
It's kind of an ode to being like a god character. You know, on the seventh day he rested, and that's kind of. It shows, and that's a hell of a way to end the movie. Is I remember the whole theater was just dead silent when that happened, and it just went straight to credits, and it was so impactful just seeing all this happening, and then it's almost like we've seen one side succeed, even though who we thought was going to win ended up losing. It creates a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah, and you can't even create the emotion that they display on the screen just with like Groot and Rocket alone. Yeah. Groot says like, "I'm Groot," which they later confirmed he was saying "Dad" to Rocket. because Rock is kind of like a father figure to Groot. So that was really sad. Spider-Man dying, Black Panther. I mean, it was a gut punch moment for sure for a lot of MCU fans, and it was just a powerful way to end a movie in an unprecedented way because this never happened ever in a superhero movie.
Yeah.
So it was a great ending to a great movie. So overall, I love this movie. There was some issues, like I said, the jumping back and forth between characters got a little tedious at times, but like we said, they did the best they could. And there is some plot holes, like how did Wakanda have a Hulkbuster for Bruce Banner, just various things like that. And there's also some like decisions they made with characters that I didn't like. Like I didn't like how Hulk didn't come out, like Bruce Banner couldn't become the Hulk. It was funny in the beginning in the New York scene, but when they're fighting Wakanda, he definitely should have had the Hulk come out and not him being in the Hulkbuster. And they do have that awesome shot in the trailer where they're all charging with Hulk in the background, and they didn't even use that in the movie. So they filmed that, but they didn't use it. And there's a lot of scenes like that too. There's a lot of cut scenes and stuff like that. And I'm also wondering where Hawkeye and Ant-Man were. I was really looking forward to seeing them in this movie, but they just weren't in it. So that'll be interesting to see where they're coming from when we get an Ant-Man and the Wasp later this summer. So we'll see if that has anything to do with it. But overall, this was a great movie. I had a blast with it. It's not perfect. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. It's probably one of my like third or fourth favorite MCU movie. I had a complete blast with it. It's a great movie for everyone.
As for me, I thought this was an awesome movie. Definitely way better than I anticipated it to be. Like I said before, I was kind of just expecting another superhero movie. Totally was not anything like that. I mean, this was a very fleshed out movie. You could tell this was really a story first, and then it became superheroes later. It's very. I think I haven't read the comics, but from what I've heard from people, it's pretty true to the comics and the characters, the way that they've been. There are a few issues where you're kind of logically thinking through these things, wondering, is there some way around it? Isn't there just an easier way? Is there something that could have gone wrong here, or something that could have been corrected to kind of get around this whole thing? And of course that happens with Star-Lord, with Chris Pratt, as we see about halfway through the movie. But overall, it tells a great story. It's got great character development on all sides, not just the good guys, but also on the side of Thanos, as well as it leaves us with a great teaser at the end of the trailer with Captain Marvel and Samuel L. Jackson. Who doesn't love Samuel L. Jackson? So that was kind of a cool way to give a nod to what's coming next. So I really thought, as a movie experience, it was incredible. As a superhero movie experience, it was phenomenal. Absolutely unparalleled in recent years. But overall, I think it was a good film. It was worth a watch multiple times, as he did 3 times. They made a lot of money off of him. So I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. Alright, so that gives us a combined score of 8.5 out of 10.
Alright, I'm definitely going to buy this on Blu-ray. I don't know, if you're a huge superhero collector, I think it's definitely worth it. It's probably the third best MCU movie. For me, Civil War and Spider-Man Homecoming are still my favorites, but it's definitely up there in one of the top MCU movies. It also has probably my favorite villain of all time besides DC movies. This is definitely the best Marvel
villain. The best superhero villain for sure.
Yeah, Thanos, right up there with Killmonger, Vulture, or Loki. He's great. Mm-hmm. And also, like, I forgot to mention, the comedy in this movie was
it's great.
It's great.
That's just one of the reasons everybody loves Marvel and DC.
I mean, MCU is blowing DCU out of the water.
It's not even a competition.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care if you call us fanboys or whatever, but MCU, they've taken 10 years to get to this point, and DCU is just trying to catch up too quick. But MCU has taken their time. They've developed, and they have made a great finale to a great franchise, and I hope we get to see the part 2 next year, which we will see, but I hope we get to see an awesome conclusion to this.
Yep, it's definitely worth the wait. Can't wait to see what's going to happen. It's really keeping everybody on the edge of their seat. We don't know what's going to happen now because, of course, the way that this ended, it sets a good, like, nobody knows what.
Yeah, it's true. Like, what's going to happen since all these characters? They're going to bring them back because I mean, they're not going to get rid of Spider-Man and Black Panther. There's no way.
They need to make them up. They're going to make so much money off.
But we're going to see what happens. I can't wait. It's going to be an awesome experience that is, like you said, unparalleled with anything. This is a huge achievement in movie
history. This is a big moment in movie history. Yeah, especially for the CGI. For one, was incredible. Mm-hmm, all the work that went into this movie was just it set a new standard.
Yeah, like it's hard to wrap your head around how they balanced everything, and they did a great job of doing that. And it's one of those movies like you thought we would never get. We thought we'd never see a movie like this, but we did, and it's awesome. And what did you guys think about it? Tell us in the comments.
Yeah, what do you think is going to happen in the next one? Let us know down below. Subscribe. We'll see you later.